All right, guys, so in this lab, we're going to teach you how to configure an IP ACL, which is access control list, to mitigate attacks. So on this lab, there go the topology. That's what we're going to be working on. So we have one server and 3 routers and 2 switches and a PC. So now, there go the addressing table, and if we scroll down, we'll see the lab objective says that verify connectivity among devices before firewall configuration, and use ACL, which is access control list, to ensure remote access to the routers is available only for management station PCC. Configure ACL on router 1 and 3 to mitigate attacks. Verify ACL functionality. Okay, so let's not wasting time. Let's go ahead and pull up Packet Tracer and start our configuration. So now this architecture here is from a previous lab that I was doing. So let's go ahead and start from scratch so that everybody can see. Okay, so let's just erase those real quick and start plug things back again. Okay. All right, so let's just leave this. Yeah, let's remove this. Okay. All right, so now what we need is we need 3 routers, 1, 2, and 3. So we need 3 routers and 2 switches, 1 and 2. We need a PC and a server. So we need a PC and a server. So, okay. Now, okay, guys, so cancel. So go ahead and start making this look exactly like the topology being provided. Okay, so now let's start connecting cables together. As you know, connecting a router into connecting a server into a switch, you gotta use a straight through cable. A switch into a router, you gotta use a straight through cable. Now, a router to connect into another router, we're gonna use a crossover cable. A router into another router, crossover cable. Now, a router into a switch, you gotta use a straight through cable. And now, the last connection is the is the switch into the PC. Now let's call this PCC as we've been told on the lab. Let's call this switch what? Double check. Let's call this switch 2. Switch 2, and call this router 3. This router 2. This router 1. This router 1. Now this server, we're gonna call it PCA. PC-A. Okay. Now, if we were to pull up the addressing table, you would see, so there go the addressing table. It says that on PCA, the IP address is 192.168.1.3, and the default gateway is 1.1. So let's go ahead and do that. So the PCA, which is this, go to config. So the default gateway should be 192.168.1.1.1, right? So the NFS should have, let's check the NFS should be 192.168.1.3, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, I'm correct. And so if you press tab, it would automatically put the subnet mask automatically. So bingo. Let's go ahead and do that for PC-C2 as well. Config. What default gateway for PC-C is what? So the default gateway for PC-C is 192.168.3.1. And then the IP address is 192.168.3.3 for PCC, right? That 3.3. And you press tab, it's gonna put the subnet mask automatically. Okay, so now that we already fill in the blank with the IP addresses on both of the computers. Now let's pull up the CLI command and start doing the configuration for switch 1. So say no, you say enable mode conf t, you change the name of the router, you gotta call that router 1, right? So on router 1, you say access list, because double check here to make sure. So the first task was to what? It says verify connectivity using your device for the firewall configuration. Use ACL to ensure remote access to the router is available only for management station for PCC. So we could say access list. So configure ACL 10 to block. We're gonna configure ACL 10 to block all remote access to the router except from PCC, guys. We're gonna do that on router 1, 2, and 3. So permit so 10 permit, and then we could say host. So 192.168.3.3, right? So then let's pull router 2 and do the same here. Make it bigger, hit no, enable, conf t host router 2, and then we could do what? Access list 10 permit tab, and then host tab 192.168.3.3. Okay, so that's on router 2. Let's go ahead and do the same for router 3. Open the CLI, make it bigger. No. Enable mode, configuration mode, host, change the name of the router, which is all three. And then what we do is access tab 10, permit, host 192.168.3.3. Okay, so now that we have configured ACL 10 to block all remote access to the router except from PCC. Now, the second steps is to apply the ACL 10 to ingress traffic on the VTY line. So the ingress is the incoming traffic. That's what it means. So let's go ahead and pull, since we're already on router 3, let's just do that for router 3 as we here. So it says, so let's say access class, access class 10 in. Okay. So just a second, guys. So not sure why it does it take this command. So access class config line. Okay, so what to do is to do line console. It's line console CO, and then we could do access class, then 10 in, right? So let's go ahead and do the same for router 2 and 1. So what to do is to line console 0 access class 10 in. Let's go ahead and do the same for router 1. We could say line console 0, then we do access class 10 in, right? Okay, so now if you would have verified from PCC, you could establish an SSH session to 192.168.2.1. So let's go ahead and see from PCC if I want to go on the desktop command. If I would have do SSH.L, we could do SSH admin, and then we could do 192.168.2.1, right? Okay, this might be, yep. So this might take some time. Now let's go ahead and, so on part 3, we're gonna create a number of IP ACL 120 on router 1. To create an IP ACL number, so we're gonna permit any outside host to access the DNS and the SMTP and the FTP services on server PCA, and deny any outside host access to HTTPS services on PCA. We're gonna permit PCC to access router 1 via SSH. So guys, let's go ahead and do that real quick. Start from router 1, make this big. So go exit 1 step. We're gonna say access list 120 permit UDP any host 192.168.1.3, and then EQ domain, right? Okay, enter, and then opal, we're gonna do the EQ SMTP, enter, and then we're gonna do the EQ FTP, enter, FTP. Why is it taking EQ FTP? No. So we made a mistake. Let's go back. So this should be changed to TCP, not UDP. TCP, any host 192.168.1.3 EQ domain. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, so this should be TCP, like I said, TCP, any host 192.168.1.3, and then the EQ. What am I doing? TCP. Okay, so change this here, and then make this SMTP. Good job. Right. So then we could do up power, and we're gonna do TCP anyone at 168 that this for TCP, so FTP I mean. Okay. Then we could do deny up power, go ahead and change the permit into deny. Okay. So I'm being lazy, guys. I don't like to type all the commands. So I just do up and down arrows. So access list 120, deny TCP any host of 192.168.1.3 EQ443, which stands for HTTPS. So, deny, I always forget. I gotta use the house instead of the next. So EQ443. All right. So now let's go ahead and do the same. We're gonna deny for the IP address. So, but we're gonna permit instead of deny, let's do permit traffic TCP host 192.168.1.3.3. Let's go ahead and change this to 3.3 for what? Host that 3.3 and another host 10.1.1.1 EQ 22nd, which stands for SSH. Enter. So let's see what we have wrong here. So we have what? Access list 120 permit TCP. No. So there go the typo. So the TCP host, it's not TCP any. And bingo, we good. Okay, guys. So now that we use that, the only thing that we have left for the simulation is to apply the ACL to the interface. So we're gonna use the IP access group command to apply the access list for the incoming traffic on the interface S0001 on router 1. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Which router that we in right now? So it's router 1, so we good. All we gotta do is to do show IP and BR, right? Okay, so we could do interface gig. So it's 0/0/0/0 and go. And then we could say IP access. See if it gives us, okay, access group 120 in. Okay, so now on step 4, if you want, you could verify that PCC cannot access PC1 via HTTPS using the web browser. And on part 4, you could modify an existing ACL on router 1. So you could verify that the PCA cannot successfully ping the loopback interface on router 2, make any necessary change to ACL 120 to permit and deny the specified traffic. Use the access list command. So let's go ahead on router 1. We could do from router 1, let's just exit one step. We could do what? Access list 120 permit ICMP any echo reply. right? And then we could do access list 120 ICMP echo any unreachable. Let's do it for unreachable now. Then we could do access list 120 permit IP any. Permit IP any, right? So now, if you verify, you could verify that PCA can successfully ping the loopback interface on router 2. Now let's go ahead on router 3. We could configure on ACL 110 to permit only traffic from the outside network. So let's go ahead and do that on router 3. Let's go enable conf t. Then we could do access list 110 permit IP 192.168.3.0, and then the loopback. The subnet mask is 0.0.0.255. Then any. All right. So now we could apply the ACL to interface gigabit 01 on router 3. Let's go ahead and do that. We could do and gig 001. We could do IP access group 110 in, right? So that's pretty much. So now we could configure ACL 100 to block all specified traffic from the outside network. We're gonna do that on router 3. As we here, let's go ahead and do all power access list 100 permit. Let's go one step out. Says access list 100 permit TCP 10.0.0.0. Am I correct? Yep. 0.0.0.2 and that's 0.0.0. So we get 0, and then we get 0.255.255.255, and then we do EQ 20-second host. Why is it not taking this? Let's try it again. It says the command is incomplete, so let's try it again. So we get access list 100, right? Permit TCP 10.0.0.10.0.0. So we get 0.255.255.255, and we get the EQ 20-second and host 10.0.0.0. Right. Not sure why it's not taking this. So we have to type the IP address of the host 192.168.3.3. So we good now. All right. So now on water 3, all we gotta do to finish with with this um this lab, we're gonna deny some incoming traffic. So we say access list 100, deny IP 10.0.0.0, and then we get what? 0.255.255.255 any, right? So up our and change the IP address. So we get what? 172.16.0.0, and the mask is let's make this 15. Okay, up our deny another IP, deny 192.168.0.0, right? And then let's make this 0. Okay, we do up arrow again, so we're gonna deny 2 more IP, and then we'll be good. So 172. 127, I mean 127.0.0.0, and then the IP address, let's make this 255, right? So now we could do up arrow, and then last IP we're gonna deny is 240.0.0.0, and then we're gonna make this 15. Oh, sorry. Make this 15. Then we're gonna make this 255. 255, right? Now the last thing to do is to say 100 permit IP any. All right. So the last thing to do on router 3 to permit interface for interface gig 0.0./1. Let's do the IP up, the IP access group 100 in. So doing this, that we apply the access list to the incoming traffic on the NFS serial 0.0/1. So that's pretty much all that we gotta do on this lab. So again, the objective of this lab was was to configure IP access control lists to mitigate attacks. So guys, thank you so very much for following along with me. I appreciate you. I'll see you back again on the next lab with Cisco Security.